Hi, I'm Kevin Finch, director of Westbound, the genius of Wes Montgomery. We are at the Kurt Vonnegut Memorial Library on Indiana Avenue, and Pat Metheny could tell you the importance of Indiana Avenue. That's where Wes Montgomery, his hero, got his start. And how did Pat Metheny get his start? Well, that's what we're going to reveal in this episode.
So, my older brother brought home a Miles Davis record when I was about 11, and that was sort of opening the door. I already had a guitar in my possession, like a lot of kids in the 60s. Mm-hmm. The guitar was not just an instrument at that point. It was this iconic symbol of what was about to happen, and what was happening. Mm-hmm. And I, as a little kid, I responded to that. But once I heard Miles, it was like somebody hit me over the head with a baseball bat, and my life was never the same after that. Yeah. And I had already kind of committed to guitar. Mm-hmm. My older brother was a great trumpet player. My dad's a trumpet player. All trumpet players, which as a sort of preteen made me really not want to play the trumpet. I wanted to do something different, Right. And
rebel.
Exactly. And they actually didn't want me to play the guitar, which made me want to play the guitar even more.
Is that?
So, the thing that happens with people when they discover the music, they start going instrument by instrument, and very quickly, actually I remember specifically how it happened. My brother had a friend named John Stone, who was a saxophone player, whose dad was a teacher at the junior high, and he was a big fan of the music. And, Mike, my brother, had noted that I was into that, and Mr. Stone said, "Hey, have you heard Wes Montgomery?" And I was like, 11 or 12 or whatever I was, and I was like, no. And he had Going Out of My Head, which must have just come out.
Great.
And he said, well, check this out. And I was like, well, kind of like with the Miles thing, within 1 second, well, that's it. That's the thing.
Yeah, and guitar at that.
And guitar. Yeah. And so then, I didn't have a lot of records. I only had maybe 8 records, and one of them was Smoking at the Half Note. I got it right away. And I mean, literally, I can trace almost everything that I do, and not just to Wes, but to Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, and Jimmy. I mean, it's like completely formed by that record and a couple other ones. And I mean, literally, the first year or two after that, I played with my thumb. Any chance I could go to octaves, I would do that. And as a 13-year-old kid, especially in the town I grew up in, I mean, I may as well have been from outer space. Nobody had any idea what I was even talking about before John Coltrane and all that stuff. But I entered a contest, like on Downbeat, where I played The Big Hurt from, one of those Verve records from around that period. Well, I entered, and then about 2 months later, the Downbeat came in the mail, and, I was flipping through it, and it said the winners, and I was the winner. And it said, I get to go to, the such and such camp in Illinois in about a week. And they had never called me or anything. And I was like, Mom, I won.
What did your dad and your brother say?
Well, everybody was like, really? And so I went to this thing, and it was the first time I'd ever seen any other people roughly my age who knew anything about anything. And my roommate that week was a guy named James Williams, great piano player, went on to play with Blakey. And he and I became really great friends. And of course, I was whipping out my octave thing and all that, which, like when you're 13 or so, it's okay. But, I was very lucky that the Kansas City scene that was near where I grew up sort of had openings where I could start playing, and I started working really young. And, I had a moment in there where I realized I loved Wes so much that I didn't want to do what he did. I wanted to do what he did.
Right.
Meaning, he found him.
Yeah.
He found his sound. He found his way of being himself. And to me, that was a much larger lesson. And from that night on, I was probably about 16 at that time, every note I play, I want to, but I don't.
Yeah. Hell,
Because to me, it's sort of like, you know, the larger aspects of Wes's thing for me are really significant and not that talked about. I mean, there's a lot of like real kind of obvious stuff, you know.
Right.
I mean, you know, and it's all great too. But to me, the issues of Wes's thing that really had the most impact were the individuality that he brought to it, that was so uniquely his, but maybe more than that, the way he could take ideas and develop them.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, that's really underreported about his thing. The whole idea of being an improvising musician, for me, sometimes gets a little clouded up with, you know, the nuts and bolts of it. But at its core, it's about storytelling. And Wes, to me, above everything else, you could always follow it. He had this amazing ability to describe very complex ideas in ways that were so clear and so well sort of backed up with spirit and soul and all that, but also, like, if you just look at it in a linear way, he almost never played any idea that didn't have 2 or 3, sometimes more, responses to what the idea was, which is a lot like when you're talking, you keep it going, and you can feel that somebody who's an engaging speaker is talking in such a way that, first of all, you can follow it, it's engaging, but also as it's going, it's giving you more information about the topic at hand. To me, there's only a couple people. Sonny Rollins comes to mind. You know, Train, Bird, in their way, with their language, certainly were that. But Wes, to me, was just, in terms of taking an idea, developing it, making it incredibly communicative to anyone.
Yeah.
Or you can be just, you know, listening to it, and it does it. It's 360. You can do it from 2 miles out, or, you know, on an atomic level, and it's going to do that thing. And man, there's almost nobody like that. And on the guitar, it's really rare. So, I mean, those aspects of Wes's thing are at least as important to me as the things that are most often talked about.
Thanks to Pat Metheny for sharing his insights, early days of his own career, and those recordings from Wes Montgomery that influenced Pat so much. Next time on Further Westbound, we'll have more from Pat Metheny, among others, and you can check them out anytime. And if you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button.